It's the Terry Sullivan Show. Returning to the show from Awesome Insurance, Alex Awesome. That makes standing in line at the DMV a much better option. It's Terry Sullivan.
That was really bad.
That was. It's very early and I'm tired.
Are you awake? I mean,
no.
I'm sorry to get you out of bed. You just found out that 6 o'clock comes twice a day, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize, yeah.
How you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I heard that you did a gig last Tuesday in the ice and snow.
Right in the middle of it, yes.
Yeah.
It was fun.
But you had to take it because
it was a nice little bonus for the week.
When nobody else was working, right?
Yeah, nobody was working. Nobody was stupid enough to get out in that weather.
You know, sometimes money speaks highly, you know.
It does.
But there were people there, even though the ice was on the ground?
Right. It was in downtown Dallas, so there were people already there at the Omni Hotel there in downtown Dallas. So we had the built-in crowd. We just had to show up and play. Some other band didn't want to drive in. Ooh, it's icy.
Yeah.
I'll take your money.
Alex, good to have you.
Good to have you, sir.
This is part two.
Yes, sir.
You know, we did part one, and we didn't get to finish because the story got so interesting.
I appreciate it.
Well, and then I had people that even through yesterday kept saying, when is Alex part two going to air? So here we are.
Yeah, I think we went to the point that I got into the jail in Oman.
That's exactly where we stopped. That's where we're going to pick up today. But before we do that, how do you like my nice cups?
It is beautiful. Not because of the cup, because you have my name on it.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
We spare no expense on our cups.
I know.
Yeah.
It is beautiful, though.
Well.
And it is practical, more important.
Well, it's cheap. We just call it cheap.
No, it isn't. But yeah, that was that. I don't mention my body name because we were two pilots who escaped. Mm-hmm. The reason because I have not been in touch with him for a long time, and I don't know if he wants his name to be mentioned or not.
Yeah.
For the purpose, you know, we were flying leg by leg, so I was flying and he was talking on the radio. Mm-hmm. So they came and they got us and they took us to the airport jail. Now this is the August 13th of 1981.
Yeah, but so the last show you were talking about, they had guns around your plane.
They come and
people were screaming, and you were thinking, just just be quiet. And I asked you on the last segment, I said, were you scared? And you said no.
No, I normally don't get scared for myself because, as I mentioned, if you don't get scared of dying, which is, I believe, it is the going to the next stage of the living.
Yeah.
And so there is no reason to scare. I scare for other people. I scare for my kids or my wife, my friends.
Yeah.
But not for myself. And at the time, we were young. We were 28, 29 years. We were invincible.
Well, so let me ask you a question. So you were young, and you just wanted out. You didn't want to be part of the revolution, didn't want to be part of things going on in Persia, and you just wanted out. So
well, actually, let me interrupt you. What we were thinking, I was thinking at the time, I thought that these people are not going to last more than 6 months. I thought the other side of the border, the Persian revolution, anti-revolutionary, I better say, they were waiting for us. I mean, I thought that the United States is not going to allow them, they're going to help them, or they're going to allow them to survive that long. So I really didn't think I'm going to come and live outside that country for this many years, which is almost 50 years.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I'm going to go back. And that was the first thing we had in mind. And when we escaped at the time, we find out, oh, we made a big mistake. None of those things that we were thinking is happening. Actually, there was opposition. There was the last prime minister of the Shah, that was the Bakhtiar, his name was. He was in France. And they had the close tie with Egypt. Egypt never was good with the Iranians, in the revolutionary Iranian. They were good with the Shah. Anwar Sadat was the president of Egypt at the time. And he was a friend of the Shah. And actually, if you know, the Shah of Iran, his grave is in Egypt. When they exiled him from Iran, the only place that allowed him to stay at the end was Egypt. So under those situations that we were thinking, you know, what we are going to do now that there is nothing in Oman, definitely there is, and they were afraid of Iranian, and they put us in a jail, which is hot.
Did they put you and the other pilot only in the jail, or did they put everybody in jail?
I don't know about the rest of them. Later on, they said that they took them to the main jail. But we were in the individual cells next to each other in the airport. And it wasn't a big jail. It was the airport jail, like, you know, had probably 6 or 8 cells in there.
Right.
And in the next day, of course, there was a whole bunch of screaming and cussing, you know, at the time going from my side. Say, what the hell you are keeping me here? I prefer to go back.
Now the military went ahead and took the plane back.
They did it about 3 days later.
Yeah.
Actually, the people from my squadron, one of them is the 747 pilot who just, the 747 retiring anyway, and he's living in Dallas now. He went with a couple other pilots when they took the airplane back, and the passenger. The passenger went back with them as well. Just 2 of us stayed there, and they said, we cannot stay here. They send us to United States. So, oh, you can't go to United States. It has a long process. It doesn't happen that you come out and you go there. We didn't know these things.
But Alex, why did they not take you back and court-martial you or whatever?
Well, there was a couple of reasons. First of all, we were under asylum. When you go to another country and they know that if you go back, they're going to kill you. This is international rule. They don't give you back. Technically, they shouldn't give you back. The second part, that everybody knew we were there, because we, as I mentioned, we spoke in the international radio, in the channels that the other pilots could hear us.
I see.
Like the Lufthansa pilots, for example, Pan American pilots. So they knew we are there. They
So at
knew
the time, you're a
airplanes
very
here.
popular pilot.
Not really popular, but they knew we are there. And one thing happened. There was a general, the admiral in the Navy, when the last leg of the Shah, and he was in Europe. And we bought a few gunship from France. And the French gunships, and they were delivering it to Iran at the time. And in the same day, August 13th, 1981, they stole one of those ships from the Marrakesh or the Spain port, somewhere there. They just stormed it, took the ship, and went to the sea. So the Iranian authority thought this is a very big operation against them. The airplane running away from this where the ship. We didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But for that reason, they were pretty quick to accept to hold the pilots, give the airplane back with the Omanians government.
Yeah.
And they knew if they are going to send us over there, they are going to shoot us after probably torturing us. And but still, they did go ahead and took us to the court. They said, you invaded our air and our territory. So they took us to the court, and they told us that we are going to charge you, but you don't have to pay, something like that. Now, I'm saying these things because it's over 30 years. Now, the 30 years is the law that passes every classified thing, so they don't get pissed at me right now. But
You know, if you come up missing, we're just going to know you're back in Iran. You know.
Yes, that was the story. So after a while, I said, we cannot keep you here. We cannot send you to United States because it's a long process. You have to apply for asylum, and it goes through the routine to accept you. So the only place that they are going to take you is Egypt. And that was because of Mr. Anwar Sadat. So about after 13 days, they send us with the Mistral Tyron. That's the name of the airline, the Egyptian airline. They send us to Cairo, Egypt.
Now, when they were transporting you, were you in handcuffs or?
No, we were, but there were about 3 people with us. There was an officer and 2.
Were you scared? I mean, you said you're not scared.
No, I don't. I still don't scare.
But you didn't know what was going to happen.
No, but at that point, as I said, when you are young, it is adventure. You know, you are alive, you are eating, and they give you food, and they are not beating you, so it's okay. So and actually, when we were in Egypt, we were impressed because they treat us like royalty. They came by the airplane. At the time, they didn't have these terminals that, you know, get close to the building and you just walk into the building from the tunnel. It was with a bus, if you can remember it. The aircraft lands in the middle of the ramp, and after that, the bus comes and take the passengers and take it to the terminal. It used to be like that.
Yeah.
And when we hold everybody, and an officer came in and took us. There were 5 of us now. Took us down, and there was a Mercedes, put us in the Mercedes, took us to the VIP room, and a major came to us, the Egyptian major, and said that I was speaking 6 languages. I said, I barely speak 1. So said, which language do you prefer to speak? That was the way they treat us. And after that, they took us to the Cairo, the middle of the city, had the apartment right at the Nile. I said, well, we are sorry, this is the only one we could find right now because the housing is kind of the problem in the Cairo. And later on, they took us to another brand new apartment in the new part of the Cairo, which they really treat us good. Mm-hmm. They gave us the cook, the driver. And that was, we went to U.S. Embassy, try to situate ourselves. The friend of mine, his wife had married the American attorney in San Francisco, and he passed away. And he started working on a political asylum.
Well, now let me ask you this: Did the American military know you were trying to defect?
Oh, they knew.
They knew.
They knew everything.
Okay.
Because there was the aircraft carrier and warships. They knew the airplanes. Yeah, they didn't want to get involved in it. That's actually, now you think about it, the military doesn't want to get involved in any of this stuff. They are doing their job, whatever they've been. They are not supposed to rescue. I mean, they rescue people if they ask for help, but somebody who escaped or as long as we don't get close to them, they don't care about what they are doing. So they knew it. And it is an open fact, now that they knew that we escaped. They knew that we came because our asylum went through real quick and was so easy, And we really didn't do any crime, we didn't kill anybody, we didn't shot anybody on the way.
You stole an airplane.
That's just an airplane.
You had passengers that didn't want to go.
You don't know that. They probably want to go. They just didn't have a guts to say that.
Yeah.
No, but the fact was that we were in Egypt when they assassinated President Sadat. Actually, the next day, the Monday, we were supposed to go to U.S. Embassy for the meeting with the, for the continuation of the asylum process, and we were watching in the TV that they assassinated him. And Hosni Mubarak came to the power next day, the one that just ousted a couple of years ago, and he was in power. And when he changed, the president changed, our situation started changing a little bit. Our Mercedes changed to the Citroens. Our 2 bodyguards turned to be 1. The cook were gone. You know? So we knew we have to leave real quick. And that's what we did. At that time, we all had a political asylum. When I say all, because we met another Air Force pilot. He was a major. He just passed away about last year over here in Dallas. I saw him again over here. He escaped about 40 days before us with the 707, the 4-engine Boeing.
He stole a 707?
707. That was a refueling Air Force pilot.
You know, if I'm the military in Iran, I'm thinking we got to tighten things up around here.
Oh, they did. They tried, but I tell you, after we escaped, I was the first Navy pilot who escaped. I was in a reunion just a few weeks back in Vegas. There is about 26 of those escapee pilots.
Wait a minute. So
after
so
that,
now you have reunions for all of the pilots that escaped.
Pilots, yes, sir. And there is from those, 3 or 4 of them got the vacation and never got back. But the rest of them stole helicopters, single-engine airplane, whatever they could get their hand on it. As soon as they find out you survived the other side, you know, they were gone.
If I'm the main guy in Iran, and I keep hearing my airplanes are missing, my helicopters are missing. Wait a minute, they stole a warship. I'm thinking, what are we doing here?
And that was a wartime. Yeah. That was about 1 year into the war. They couldn't really do much.
Yeah.
They couldn't. The guy has to fly, you know, has to go, you know, do the surveillance or whatever, or hit the tanks, and so they couldn't stop them really.
Yeah.
If somebody wasn't happy and wanted to leave, they could leave, and that's what happened.
Now, were you married at this time?
Yes. I was going to escape. I was going to take my wife with. My wife has got 1 brother, and that her mom came to me just before, because I told them we are leaving, and I said, do you know what's going to happen to you after you leave? I said, no. I said, do you know what situation you are going to go through? I said, no. I said, this is the only daughter I have. Please don't take her. I said, okay. So I left her back there, and I talked to her about
all right,
it.
so this is so interesting to me. So you know you're leaving, and your wife is not leaving. How did that conversation go? I mean, the night before you left, tell me about that conversation.
Well, the situation was that I knew I cannot survive there. They're going to come after me sooner or later because we didn't have anything in common. And so I needed to leave. Yeah. And she wanted to be with me. And she actually left about a year later through the Pakistan border.
And that's a whole nother story.
That's another story. Her story is much tougher than mine, I'll tell you.
I tell you, I've talked to her a little bit about that after our last interview, and I just can't imagine all that she went through walking over mountains. Yeah. All right, so you left. So tell me about the day that you finally get to go to the United States.
That was after my friend come over here to San Francisco, and the other guy, the pilot, the major Air Force major, he went to Paris to join that, they call it the Iranian Freedom Organization, something like that. And that prime minister of the last prime minister of Iran came to Egypt. We met him over there, and he got us the Egyptian passport because we didn't have a passport, and I still kept that passport as this, memory. So I didn't have any place to go. I was thinking that I want to go back and fight these people, and so my sister was living in Dubai. I said, Dubai is the closest part to the Iran. So I said, why don't you send me to Dubai? I can survive over there. My sister is there. I can be there. And because they were talking about the Iranian military is going to go back and start fighting these people. So I can join them from there much easier. And I'm a Navy guy, close to the Navy bases. And they said, okay. There was a I don't mention his name. He was a colonel in Iranian army, but he got assassinated in Turkey later. And he was the chief of the operation, the military operation. And he said, okay, I'll go ahead and get you, I have to get you a Persian passport in order to take you to Dubai. We cannot take you with the Egyptian passport. I said, okay, and after these guys left, I was alone in Egypt. I was there for almost 6 months, and I called him. Apparently, he got into the argument with that Air Force major that was in Paris, because now he wanted to be the boss. And this guy, I start knowing these things later.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's going to cost me $2,000 to get you Iranian passport, and I need to know, do you worth it or not? And I get, again, very upset, and I start giving him piece of my mind. Said that, you are asking me, do I worth it? I have to ask you, you are worth it. So it didn't go well.
Yeah.
And the Egyptian were listening to our conversation. We were going and we go through their intelligence service offices. We were talking, calling the other people. So they knew what's going on. So I came to the guy and said, well, apparently Dubai is out of question. These people are I cannot stay here. Why don't you send me to United States? I said, I can buy you a ticket. That's all I can do. And I didn't have any money. So I get about $500 from my sister in Dubai after calling, they wired the money over there. I paid her back anyway. But I got that money, and I landed in San Francisco with the huge suitcase. Empty.
No money.
No, $500.
Yeah.
That's I have $500. And
But were you relieved? I mean, you finally made it to where
no,
you're...
actually, I was very stressed out at that time, because everything that I planned were down there. And I didn't know what am I doing now.
Yeah.
Now I had to go and survive, and I couldn't fly. Of course, the gentleman who passed, my friend's brother-in-law came to me and said, I gave $5,000 to the other guy, to get his private license and start working. And he put $5,000 cash on the table, so I do the same thing for you. He was a wealthy man, and I said, I need to think about it. And when I got back to my room, a friend of mine who was here just a couple of days ago for the weekend, he's in Houston. He called me. He found out that I escaped and where I am, and he found my phone number and called me and said, Alex, come to Houston. I have a job for you. I said, okay. So I bought a ticket, and he was the training manager for Pizza Inn restaurant. If you can remember Pizza Inn, it was
Sure.
competing with Pizza Hut at one point of the time. There was 400 of those stores, and he got... I barely knew how to eat pizza. And he trained me over there to cook pizza, and start working as assistant manager. Of course, I did everything. Cooking, washing, dishwashing, and mopping the floor, everything. And restaurant business is tough. I feel for you. And I was there 3.5 years, and working average 14, 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I got my store.
By the way, that hasn't changed.
No, I know. I know. It's never going to change, because I always come and say, when it is busy, the owner has to work. When it is slow, owner has to work.
Yeah, you got to have.
You got to work.
Yeah, you got to have a passion for it, or you just won't.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
So, Alex, what a great story! What a great inspirational success story that you are. Because here we are years later. You've built an incredible business. You've done so well for yourself and your family. Now your whole family is here, and it's an incredible story. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. It was a blessing, and I tell you one thing again. I know I said it before. It cannot happen anywhere else in the world. It cannot happen, because right now, it is not an incredible business. It is a small business, but it is enough that supports my family. I can support my daughter. I can pay my bills, and I can have a small airplane. I was talking in the chat with a friend of mine in New Zealand. He's another pilot that we got trained together, and went over there. After me, he escaped to New Zealand and started flying 737. Even fly sometime for the United Arab Emirates, you know, in that area. And he's not retired. We are all in the 70s, so he's retired. And he was saying it is a shame of any of these pilots who are in the United States and not flying, because that's the only country you can fly with 40 grand. You can buy airplane. With $300, you can have a hangar over here. I mean, where else in the world you can do that?
Yeah.
And you can fly anytime you want to, if the weather be good, of course.
Sure.
So it is a blessing to be here. It is. I'm proud to be American. And as I mentioned, I live most of my life over here, almost 50 years of it.
Yes.
In the United States. My kids are born in Dallas and Houston. My daughter in Houston, my son in Dallas. They are Texan. And I'll tell you one more thing. I don't live anywhere else but the Texas.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah, because I've been here. I've been in a couple other states. I don't want to say California or Ohio or Rhode Island. There are some nice places in this country that's really worth seeing. But for living, you need the people.
Well, here we are in Old Town Lewisville. Of all the places to live, you end up in Old Town Lewisville.
Do you believe that?
Yeah. Well, and we love you here.
Well, I appreciate
You're
it.
a
I
good
love
friend
you.
to me.
You are a great guy, and that's a pleasure being your neighbor. And we always enjoy your barbecue.
I appreciate that.
It is one of the most. I always say this is the best brisket you can ever have around here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
This is
Well,
a nice place.
Alex, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. It's a great story. Hopefully, I get to talk to your wife. I don't want to call her name at this particular, but I'll get to talk to her about her story and trekking across mountains and facing death and all that to come and be with you.
That's what I told her. I said I could escape everybody except you, honey.
Yeah.
And she followed me.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir.
Terry, take us, buddy.